Welcome to today's edition of The African Dream, your favorite human interest chat show. Today we have the pleasure of having with us George Bright Abu of the Afrikan Post Newspaper. The Afrikan Post Newspaper is an African publication in the diaspora region that serves the African populace in the DC, Maryland, Virginia, and I hear Delaware. Interesting. So the African Post is a to-go source for African news, and we're glad to have its editor, George Bright Abu, here with us. Thank you for coming to join us today, Mr. Abu.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Afrikan Post. What is the Afrikan Post?
Yes, the Afrikan Post is a community newspaper that was started about 8 years ago, and it's something that brings out the best from Africa. We try to publish the positive news about developments in Africa, and then also we highlight on Africans making an impact in the community.
So, when you talk about bringing out the positive news in the community and highlight on Africans making an impact, is there room for capturing some of the things that are not necessarily positive but are equally important that needs to reach out to, not just Africans but people who are connected to Africans in the community?
Yes, definitely. There are certain issues that we can also bring up to draw attention to the community about the bad things that are going on, how people are being duped, things that people are not supposed to be engaged in, and then where people are trading to certain areas they're not supposed to. We can use the paper to draw the attention.
Now, you talked about the fact that the Afrikan Post has been around for, almost 8 years?
Yes.
When did you start exactly?
Yes, we actually started in 2007, and then we have published every month up to date. So close to 8 years. Yes, we have been in the community.
So the Afrikan Post is a monthly publication.
It's a monthly publication.
Interesting. How many pages did you start with, and where are you at right now?
Yes, we started off with 24 pages, comprising of advertisements and news stories, and then we transitioned to 28, then 32, and since 2010, it's been 40 pages.
Interesting. From 24 to 40 pages right now.
Right.
It gives me the feeling that there's a sign of growth over there.
Oh, definitely. It's been growing. We don't want to go above 40 pages. At least the 40 pages is good enough. We give people the opportunity to be able to read. And we have segmented into economics, lifestyle, various accounting, religion. So we have almost every segment that is covered.
You speak of giving people the opportunity to read the Afrikan Post by segmenting it into these respective categories you've talked about. How about those who are interested in contributing to the Afrikan Post? Do you make room for that?
Yes, we accept articles, short and spicy. And we want articles that are educated to the community, like people who write on taxes or economic activities. Yes, those articles are welcome, so long as it educates. We try to stay away a little bit from politics. If we take political articles, then it has to be historical, things that are historic that people can learn from, like history of Ghana, history of Nigeria, history of political developments in Liberia. These are things that people can learn from, but not just politics about promoting political activities in Africa. We try to stay away from that.
So, in effect, the Afrikan Post is non-partisan.
We are non-partisan. We just want to use that to educate and inform the community, not to be aligned with any political activity or any political party in Africa.
Now, even though I know you're originally from Ghana,
yes,
the Afrikan Post is just an epitome of Africa. It makes room for basically every country in Africa that has a representation in the respective states in the U.S. that you cover. Now, what are some of the most popular stories that you end up covering in the paper?
Well, if Africa, democracy is thriving very well in Africa. So if there's any change in government in any part of Africa, it is something that is worth noting. Sporting activities in Africa, achievements. Yes, these are some of the things we have to, like Nigeria won the Under-17 World Cup. This is something that is worth noting because these are stories that will not be published or highlighted in foreign media. So these are the things that we try to highlight and then bring up so that people would know. Like recently, Pope was in the United States. It was all over the news in America. But when he went to Africa, the Pope was in Africa for 5 days. These are the things we want to bring to the attention of our people here, readers here. They didn't know the activities that are going on in Africa. So what the Western media will not highlight, we want to highlight and bring it to our people here.
Interesting. Now, I know the paper is to serve the interests and inform people of African descent and also those who are non-African that are interested in finding out more about things happening in the African communities. How does it benefit those who are outside of the state, especially those in respective African countries?
Yes, almost every week we also cover events that are going on here. Educational programs, political programs, things that are happening in the diaspora. That is what we highlight. And then we are not available, like the print version doesn't go to most parts of Africa, but the electronic version is on Facebook, it's on our website. So I believe that it's reaching millions of people in Africa electronically. And then they also have the chance of knowing the activities of Africans over here in the United States.
You talked about the fact that there is an electronic version. How do people have access to the African Post online?
Yes, we have a strong presence on Facebook. Afrikan Post, African with a K, remember, Afrikan. So if you go to Facebook, we type in Afrikan Post. The paper is on our timeline, and we share with everybody. We share on people's timeline. People can go there and like Afrikan Post, so that every time we post, they can get copies. We also send an email blast to about 2,500 people on a monthly basis. They all get copies. And if you go to our website, we have the issue of the paper that you can read, like you're reading a paper that is right before you.
Interesting. Well, folks, the African Post is available online. For those of you who missed that, find the web address scrolling right across the bottom of the screen and go check them out. Now, George, tell me, what has been some of the difficulties you have faced as far as nurturing the African Post and watching it grow up to this level?
Well, getting people who are committed to report. Like a lot of journalists have traveled to the United States and they want to come back here and do the work of journalism, but you can't get their commitment to come and support this venture. They tell you, "Oh, I used to be a newspaper editor here. I used to write articles here." You give them an assignment, and that's the last you hear from them. They are not committed to doing the work. It's like people want to be paid up front to do work, but there's no volunteerism in that respect. Everybody wants to be, but they're not ready to commit to serve the community. Because when we started, part of this was voluntary. We were just volunteering our time, our resources to get this done, right? And we still haven't gotten to the point that we're making money out of this. But the passion for this industry is to educate the community. So the passion comes first before the monetary gain. Right, but you have people who come here, they look at the other side of it first. Yes, we are here to hustle, but at least sacrificing your time to publish, to write something that will educate the community, you can get a commitment.
That's interesting. So there are actually people who might have journalism or writing experience, or just even simply speak blogging experience that the African Post is inviting to send in materials that will be featured in the newspaper, both the print edition and the online edition, I assume. So if you want to have your work featured in the African Post, just send George an email. He's scrolling right at the bottom of the screen. Send him an email and prove yourself to him, and I'm sure he'll carry your work. And if it's good, you'll be online or you'll be in the printed version of the African Post. And that's quite a good reach out you're making. I'm sure there are people out there who, like you said, are actually trained journalists or experienced writers or just bloggers who are looking for an opportunity for an outlet. And if you're listening to this and you are a writer or you're a blogger or you have experience with journalism in what way whatsoever, I think this is a great opportunity for you to take advantage of and go for it.
Yes, like I said, it's all about educating the community and also encouraging people. So we want to highlight on Africans who are making an impact within the community. There are a lot of Africans in high places. We have surgeons, we have medical people in medical field, we have nurses, we have people in the engineering field who are making an impact. These are the achievements we want to highlight so that people will be encouraged. The young ones will know that, no, we are not being judged by the color of our skin. We can get to places. So people can be role models. These are the stories. Developmental, positive, right? So these are the things that I'm welcome um, to publish in the African Post.
Interesting. Now, you just said a few seconds ago that one of the difficulties you face is having people to commit to, being part of helping the African Post have stories for readers and people to see and enjoy. Now, I'm assuming since the African Post, by the way, it's a free edition, especially the print version online. Obviously, you can access it by checking out their website. But with the print edition, it's a free sheet, so it's not for sale. How do you generate revenue?
Well, the more people, if you run an advert in the paper, yeah, it's advertisement driven. If somebody runs an advert and we are able to circulate as wide as possible, the person gets their money's worth of advertising.
Right.
I have people who have advertised with me for the past 8 years, every month for the past 8 years, and it's been working for them. Because if you can get 20 to 30,000 people to read the paper, at least 5,000 will pay attention, and at least 1,000 will translate into business for you. And that's not a small number. Within a month, for what you pay, and you can get 1,000 people to the product, I think it's worth your money.
I can imagine that. I can imagine that. Now, George, recently I heard somewhere on the news that you were a recipient of a couple of awards. One was with the Asante Kotoko Association, if I'm right, here in the USA. Tell us, what is that association about to begin with?
Well, Asante Kotoko Association is one of the oldest associations in the Washington metro area. Ashantis within Washington metro area came together to form this association, and out of that association, Asante Mai has been formed, and many other associations.
Now, when you talk about the Ashantis, you're referring to the Ashantis from Ghana?
From Ashantis from Ghana.
Interesting.
So they first formed Asante Kotoko Association, and it's in their 32nd year.
Okay, it's been going for 32 years.
It's been going for 32 years.
Oh.
I think 32 or 33. I'm not sure, but I think I'll safely say 32.
Right.
So since they formed this association, I was honored to be invited as the chairperson for this year's annual fundraising dinner dance.
That's 2015 edition?
2015, yes. I was honored to be the chairperson to chair their function. And then I was presented with the Akatichi Award.
What was this award about?
Yes, just to honor me for the work I'm doing in the community, right? Supporting community events, supporting community initiatives. So I think you never know who's looking behind you. It's not something I lobbied for. I didn't even know them. They just honored me. So I believe that people are
noticing
the work I'm doing.
Well, that's good. At least we're noticing. That's why we're here sitting and chatting with you. Now, tell us, how has that award been a motivation for you?
Well, like I said, these are not people I knew. This is not something I lobbied for. But it tells me that, the good things that you're doing, you never know who's watching. You never know who's talking about you. So I believe that it encourages me to do better, to reach more people, and then to do something positive.
Now, this Akatichi Award from the Ashanti Kotoko Association was bestowed upon you in 2015. What month?
It was in September 2015, yes.
Now, so since this award in September 2015, have you won or received any other awards in recognition of the work you're doing with the Afrikan Post?
Yes, not too long ago, I believe that was in October.
Okay.
The Musicians Union of Ghana also honored me at an event at the Ghana Embassy for the work I'm doing with media in the United States. So they organized the 6th Ghana Tourism Musical Festival in Ghana.
Okay.
So they were here to promote it. And then as part of the luncheon at the Ghana Embassy, they also honored me with an award for the work I'm doing in the community, and it was given to me by the president of the Ghana Music Association, Music and Musicians Union of Ghana.
Okay.
And it was handed to me by the Honorable Ambassador to the United States.
That's pretty beautiful. I can see you're all full of smiles in the picture receiving that honor from the Ghana Ambassador to the USA. Now, George, What does the future looks like for you when you look, ahead? What do you want the African Post to grow into?
Well, um, we came to the United States many years ago, and then we have come to stay. Yes, we have to broaden our base and also encourage the young ones to take over someday. I'm encouraging my children, yes, to take up the profession. I'm looking to, in the long term, looking to build a media empire whereby we can have our own newspaper, we have our own television station, and an AM station in the United States, so that we Africans, we're going to have an African Resource Center where everything that we're looking for can come together. Africans can also have the opportunity to tap into resources, and this is what I'm working on, that we're linking up Africans with the community, with the local and state authorities, to know where we can also tap into resources and be recognized as such, because you can tell that Africans are being a force to commend within the community. So we want to be able to make our presence known, and then somebody has to lead the efforts. Africans have come to naturalize, they have voting rights, they're making a very big impact. People are going to school, taking up big positions in the community, and these are things that we want to be able to encourage the young ones to know that, we have come to stay. We're not being judged by the color of our skin, not by our accent, but we are also capable.
Interesting. So you want to in the future become like a go-to place for African information for both Africans and non-Africans.
Not just me. I'm looking for people to participate so that we can have a pool of resources that people can tap into. I just want to lead the effort or to bring people's attention, but I need everybody on board so that together we can get this done.
Now, how does this benefit the non-African?
Well, for me to get this idea, it looks like I have seen it happening. The Hispanics have people they go to. They're tapping into a lot of resources that we don't know. The Jews are doing the same. The Asians are doing the same, right? So I believe the Caribbeans might look at what we are doing and may also tap into look, these people are getting these kind of assistance. They are going to school. They are doing, so it's going to be an encouragement, because our neighbors are not just Africans. They are also people from other nationalities. And they see things they can also tap into. They see the positive things, like your children are doing well in school. They can come and ask, what did you do? So, okay, this is what I do. They can follow the examples. And together, we can have safe communities.
Interesting. Now, before I invited you over for this interview, I did some background search, and I saw this video of you on the Voice of America where you were talking about democracy and the media and its role in providing a free and fair, media in democratic institutions. And if you don't mind, I'd like to play that video for our audience to watch. Enjoy this video, and we'll get back to you soon. We're here once again with George Bright Abu, editor of the Afrikan Post newspaper. Enjoy.
The role of media is to inform and educate. And my view of an independent media is one that is free of economic and political pressure when we come to Africa, right? And being able to be independent in this perspective, right, like you working for an organization that you have to toe along the line of the organization, as it happens in Africa these days. And what normally happens is we have independent media in inverted commas, and this is what happens. Most of these independent media, private media corporations, are not properly resourced, and they depend on their advertisement driven. Mm-hmm. They depend on other advertisement, and most of these come from corporations that is feeding them, because selling your newspapers off the street alone cannot be able to meet your personal expenses and your overheads. So you depend on adverts to be able to run it. So you are at the mercy of the government and institutions to control you. But you can have your own opinion, right? It's a personal issue.
An opinion, what sort of opinion would you have? An opinion as reflected perhaps in terms of facts, in terms of the real issues that are going on?
Well, what I want to say is facts are facts, right? Media can be stifled in some way, but it's an independent issue. There are people who are bold Like, you know what? Forget everybody. I'm going to report it as it is, right? Regardless. And it is likely that there's somebody who's also going to support such a person, that this is an honest media organization that will tell the truth regardless. So if they're not getting support from the government to run it as independent as they want to be, I am going to support them. And I believe there are organizations out there that are willing to provide that kind of support. So there is a tendency of having an independent media, even though it doesn't seem to exist.
Welcome back, viewers. Thank you again for joining us. This is Ofori of The African Dream, and we're here with George Bright Abu, editor of the Afrikan Post Newspaper. Thank you for watching that video. Now, George,
Yes.
in that video, you were talking about the media in Africa. Why is it so important for the media to have the role that you described in that interview of yours with the Voice of America?
Well, like I said, the media has a big role to play in the development of Africa. Not just Africa, everywhere. And the role of media is to inform, educate, and entertain. Right? It's not to destroy. People are losing focus. People are using media to settle personal scores. People are using that to settle personal issues. But we have to know, like, my focus or my view of media is to educate and bring out positive things that are happening, to encourage other people. We're doing a lot of things these days. Our airwaves are proliferated with profane and destruction and things that are not, sometimes you're even shy to show your kids that these are the things that we're talking about in the media.
Right.
We want to change the way we do business, right? And then independent media, like I said, should be free from any governmental control or organizational control. That you should be free to be able to publish something positive about your neighborhood, your community, your government, something that will help everybody. So that is what I meant to talk about.
So,
Yes.
just from what you said back in that video, and from what you're saying now, and from the little experience I've had with reading your paper and your news website, I get the feeling that you encourage criticisms, but you very much allow for it to be constructive.
Well, it has taken criticism for my paper to get to where it has gotten today. Because when I started, it wasn't as it is. People will criticize your editorials, people will criticize your color, people will criticize the size, and I pay attention to all that, right? And I have used that to shape the paper today.
Right.
So I believe that, criticism is good. We have to criticize constructively,
Interesting.
right? And also, one thing about media, I would like to encourage media practitioners that should not look at the monetary gain, but our motivation should be born out of the passion for the work we are doing. We should be ready to speak the truth. But why are you writing this? It should be about, okay, I'm doing this to expose some ills in the community, and not just because I want to destroy somebody, but I want to draw attention to areas that people should not delve into, but not make it personal. That have an issue with somebody, I need to destroy that person. So I'm using my paper to settle personal scores. That's not what we are for.
Speaking of you, George Bright Abu, the name. What is the secret behind that name?
Well, let me tell you about my heritage a little bit. My parents are from a town close to Obuasi in the Asante region called New Ibiase.
The Ashanti region of Ghana,
The Asante region of Ghana.
Interesting.
My father happened to be the chief of New Ibiase, and he ruled from 1964 until he passed away in November last year. In actual fact, he's here to be buried in March 2016.
Okay.
So I have royal blood in me. Yes. But the origin of my name, yes, my father happened to be sponsored in school by a British man named Roland Bright. So he adopted the man's name as his last name, Bright. And his local name, if you go to where I come from, it's called Adanse. Adanse is like a kingdom within Ashanti region. Yes, Adanse, the most common name you hear is Ebu. It is not Abu, it is Ebu. That's how we pronounce it, just that we spell it ABU. So my father, that was his local name. but that was not the family name. So he just joined the two names, Bright Ebu, and coined his own last name. So it's very unique.
Interesting.
Right. Yes, it's a very unique name. But my father's family are called Usu Asante, from Adansia Krochire, Abejum, and New Odibiase in the Ashanti region. Yes, that's where my father's family come from. Akokere, Abejum, and New Odibiase. So he just coined his own name, Bright Ebu. And then that's what I've been stuck with up to date.
Interesting. Well, we talked a little bit about the awards you've received, both from the Asante Kotoko Association and from the Ghana Music Organization in consortium with the Ghana Embassy. Now, both of these awards were bestowed upon you in the year 2015. Now, I noticed when we shared the pictures of you receiving these awards, you had a lady beside you. I'm assuming that's your wife.
Yes, my wife Agnes has been the rock behind this business, right? She's the CEO. She runs everything. I'm just a wife. I believe she's been a lot of inspiration to Afrikan Post, everything I'm doing. Before this paper goes to print, she'll sit down, she'll go through everything. She's my number one critique. Yes. Everything that I have to correct has to come from her. So she's doing more work in the background that I am personally doing. She goes to events with me, she takes some of the photographs, and she does the editing. She does a lot of work, and she's been, so it's like, when we talk about Afrikan Post, you can hear me talking about we. It's not just me,
right.
It's me and her. And then one lady I would also like to commend and I also recognize for the work we're doing is Miss Amy Anson. She's been a very, very great partner in this business since we started. She has a passion for journalism and she's been doing an amazing work with Afrikan Post.
Interesting. Now, what are some of the difficulties that you face in your family life regarding, publishing the Afrikan Post? How does it get in the way of your family life?
Well, it's very difficult, and thank God I have a very understanding wife. Imagine being invited to events almost every week. Sometimes I feel bad for my kids that from Monday through Friday they go to school, they come home, I'm not home covering events. And on Saturday I pick up my bag, Daddy, where are you going? I'm going to cover an event. Come home after midnight. So it's been very challenging. Thank God I have a very understanding wife. And then she chooses to go to most of these events with me. Sometimes I'm kind of booked 2 events in a day. So it's been very, very challenging, especially with the kids sometimes missing me for a whole weekend because I'll be outside covering an event.
How do you make time for the kids? How do you, appreciate them knowing that you are away most of the times? I'm sure you have a way. We're just curious to find out. So those of us who are going through some of these same things can take a cue from your example.
Well, everything I do, I put God first. After God, I put family. Sometimes if an event has to go because of my family, I will let it go and then take care of the family. So as much as I can, I make time for them. Right now, school is out. They are here with me at home. I decided to block off the whole week just to spend time with them. So I'm not even going to go to the office. I want them to enjoy me as much as they can. So as much as I can, I make time for them. I don't let the business get in the way of my relationship with my family. Sometimes I have to let them understand that, okay, this is worth covering. I have to go to this event. And for my wife, she also makes time to go to these events with me. So that's most of the time we are together.
Interesting. Now, we know how you give back to your family. How does the Afrikan Post gives back to the community? Besides it being, an informational piece where it sets itself the agenda of informing, educating, and entertaining, what are some of the other ways you give back to the community that readers of the papers might not be aware of?
Well, people get the recognition. Yes, to have your event covered in the paper, circulated in about 10 to 15 states, I believe it's an honor. Because if you organize an event, nobody gets to hear about it. It's no news. But if I happen to be at your church event, your community event, and then publish it in a paper, circulate it online to over 70 to 100,000 people, so the community stands to benefit a lot. If you do something and nobody sees it, it's like lighting a candle and putting a basket on top of it.
Before we leave you, thank you once again for the opportunity. What do you have to say to those that are watching us right now who are listening and hearing all you're saying, and that might be discouraged because they're probably thinking of starting something, but they think, oh, this is going to be a long way, it's going to be a long journey, it's going to be too difficult. You have been at it for almost a decade. What do you have to say to those, people to, motivate them, to encourage them?
Well, what I would like to say first of all is whenever you're doing something, your motivation should not be born out of monetary gain. It should be born out of passion for what you are doing. So you start in any business, the passion comes first before you think about the monetary gain. And also you build a relationship and then trust. One thing that has gotten us this far is our delivery. No matter what it takes, we tell you we're going to put your advert in the paper, we will do it, and it will come out when we're supposed to come out. So we build a relationship with people. We don't let monetary gain come ahead of us because it breaks the relationship. But we build a solid relationship of trust, and then our delivery is prompt. And then most important thing is having the passion for what you're doing. And with that, I think you can go very far. And that's what has brought us this far.
You just heard George say it. Have a strong motivation. Do not look at the money. Be very passionate about what you're doing. Build a strong network, and then just give it all you got. Keep it going. Thanks a lot, George.
Yes, thank you
It's
so
been an
much.
honor having you here.